pull up a stool, and keep the tab open. Because we're talking about the time. The military tried to play Minecraft with ice. 1942 was desperate. The Allies were losing ships to Nazi U-boats in the North Atlantic, faster than a smartphone battery dying at a music festival. Major heart palpitations. It was essentially a mid-Atlantic gap, where U-boats were the ultimate griefers in the lobby. Out of aircraft range, since steel was in shorter supply, the Allies were desperate for a golden bullet. Enter Geoffrey Pike. Pike was a journalist, an inventor, and a guy who famously refused to shower. The original Stinky Genius. He had major main character energy, calling everyone around him buffoons while dreaming of giant icebergs. He went to Churchill. He convinced Winston Churchill to build a 2,000-foot-long carrier made of ice. Project Habakkuk. The name came from a Bible verse, basically saying, "You won't believe this even if I tell you." Truth is weirder than fiction, which is basically the historical version of saying, "Trust me, bro." Natural icebergs have a habit of randomly rolling over like a giant. Frozen middle finger to naval engineering. We needed a new material in a secret meat locker behind a screen of frozen pigs. They developed something called Picrete, the smoothie. From Hell Pike's team realized that wood pulp mixed with ice was the magic formula. 86% ice picrete was 14% wood pulp, basically bulletproof and stronger than concrete. Testing was pure chaos. It melted slower than a frozen burrito in a broken microwave and could be machined. Lord Mountbatten famously barged into Churchill's bathroom and dropped picrete into his hot tub. Kinda weird if you were to ask me. Imagine trying to have a soak and your advisor starts playing Will It Float with sawdust ice. Then came the guns at the Quebec conference. Mountbatten decided to show off by shooting the picrete with his service revolver. The bullet ricocheted off the super ice and grazed the leg of Admiral King, tagging your boss in a meme despite the near assassination. The project was greenlit for a 2-million-ton Leviathan, twice the Titanic. It was designed to carry 150 planes, with 40-foot thick walls that were supposedly torpedo-proof. The He-Man playset, they built a 1,000-ton prototype at Lake Patricia in Canada, using conscientious objectors. Internship from hell. These guys were doing free labor instead of fighting. Basically the modern unpaid interns. The 1-horsepower motor this mini Habakkuk was kept frozen by a single 1-horsepower motor, sawdust, and audacity. But to keep the giant popsicle from sagging, they needed miles of steel piping. They realized they would need more steel for the cooling system than for a normal metal carrier towing a generator. It's like buying a Tesla to save the planet, but towing a diesel generator to keep the AC on. By late 1943, the project was cancelled because the Allies got air bases in the Azores. $2.5 million. The cost had tripled, and the ice ship was now an obsolete puddle. 3 Canadian summers. The prototype took 3 years to finally melt and sink to the bottom of the lake. Diver's treasure. Now it's just a pile of asphalt and pipes for fish to look at. Geoffrey Pike took it hard, and eventually noped out of existence 5 years later. A tragic end, he claimed he had so much to give. But the world just saw a guy who didn't shower. Stinky Genius problems. We could have had a floating ice island, but we got the Azores instead. $132 million in today's money, for a ship that was basically a giant popsicle taxpayer tears. Next time you see a block of ice, remember, it almost had a 40-foot torpedo-proof hull. Look out for the sawdust. And never trust an advisor who tries to barge into your bathroom. Picrete is still a curiosity, mostly used for Mythbusters episodes these days. Science is weird. It turns out sawdust and ice is a great building material. The Royal Navy realized building a massive ice cube was a mad, wild scheme. We went from ice aircraft carriers to nuclear subs in like 20 years' progress. Maybe the only thing we learned is that history is just a series of people being extra weird. $130 million could have bought a lot of therapy for the inventors. Money well spent. Humanity is just a bar fight, where someone brought a giant freezer and a Bible. The Berg ship is the ultimate I told you so. Building a ship that melts in 3 summers. 0-star review. At least the divers in Lake Patricia have something interesting to look at underwater history. History is a bar fight, where the winner is whoever didn't get shot in the leg. Poor Admiral King. I'm closing my tab, but human stupidity is always on the house. Go home. The history is drunk, and the ice ship has already turned into a puddle.